All right, let's begin our session by praying together. Let's be seated. Let's pray together. Thanks, guys, for having me today. We are in the meeting number 13. Give it a check. Siapa? Aduh, sudah lewat setengah 4. Ya, yes, apa deh. Kok ada usability evaluation ya? Saya agak lupa nih. Oh, berarti emang ada fokus. Okay, so we are now in the meeting number 13. We will talk about design principles. Part of the design principles actually have been covered in the meeting number 4. Ordinance and signifiers are 2 of 6 design principles in Don Norman's book. Let's give it a check later. So what is the rest, the remaining 4? And some of them, I believe that also talked about that already. The feedback cycle is a part of this, I think. And also mapping. In many cases, in many chances, I have given you some feedback specifically on your final project with respect to mapping. I still remember that when I'll talk about your helmet. So the mapping about the turning right and turning left, if you want to display the turning right, it should be on the right corner instead of the left corner or in the center. The best way is to be in the right corner because we talk about right, turning right, something like that. It's a mapping part. Okay. So I think we can skip some of parts that we have talked before. And actually it's based on this video as well. From these Udacity videos. This affordance, signifiers, mapping, consistency, constraints, and feedback cycle, and our feedback, just feedback, are parts of the design principles that we have learned, that we may learn so far. We'll check some of the, maybe the summary of these videos later. In addition to this, actually, we can also learn what so-called heuristics. I'm not quite sure whether you have learned heuristic or not yet. For Fauzan, maybe it is yes, because Fauzan joined my UX design course. In UX design, we talk about the heuristics in specific, but in here, it's not really necessary for me to let you discuss about this issue because the heuristic is more about the UX design rather than the general human-computer interaction. This later, maybe I'm just gonna, let me give it a check. Can we have, let me check. We can get some summary, instant summary from this chapter. Yes. For the code. Yes. Yes. It's already 3:30. 3:30. Did you have other classes just now? Some quiz?
I have a class in electrical engineering that normally ends 15:20.
Oh,
Normally I can just go earlier out of class to join this one on time, but did not.
all right, okay. I'm just gonna help you and Danny to be attended this meeting. But just for today, okay?
Yeah.
2000 say that it's coming.
Ya, ya kan awalnya katanya dia ketiduran, bermatiin sesuatu baru teori gitu.
Okay. Well, let's check. All right, so in here I suggest you, because I will not play the videos. I suggest you to watch them later. So in this particular playlist, you may learn 15 unique principles for interaction designs. So it's gonna be very useful for your understanding and also to equip you with some useful knowledge to develop your final project. And I will take some of the knowledge here as some of the questions that uh, I may give during this week 15. Okay. Don't forget, we only have 3 weeks left, 2 weeks left actually. This week is gonna be optional. If you can attend, then you can use this meeting for improving your grade, especially your final project, But if you feel like I'm satisfied with my performance in this final project, you are free to not come, and I will just gonna mark everyone is attending this meeting. Okay. No, we cannot. I will need to know your performance in week 15, by the way, your final project, whether you can make it like successfully covered everything that we have learned. And I already mentioned all the requirements that you need to write down, right? So everything that we have learned in this course should appear on your report. All of these discourses should appear on your report, basically.
Within um, your feedback, is it guarantee that we have already done the all the
If you follow my feedback, yes. If you can follow my feedback. And by the way, the project success is not only about your final presentation, but also your documentation. So your report does matter. Okay, so I will also need to check your final report later. So during your process working on your final project, I strongly suggest you to write it down periodically, so you won't forget about anything that you've discovered in every single moment you brainstorm with your teammates, and also for any required prerequisites, the details, the any of the topics that I've covered here should be appear there. Usually, if you do not just do it at that time, you will forget, right? So I strongly suggest you that once you receive any information from me, it would be better if you can just put it down and make sure that it is tied with the project already. I will give you an opportunity today for presenting some of your work, but before that, let me just give you some of the. Maybe let's start with this. Let's start with discoverability first. This is like like the foundation of these 15 heuristics and design principles in human computer interactions. So the goal, the final destination, the final goal, the objective is discoverability. This is to answer this. Discoverability may include those 15 heuristics, 15 design principles that we learn in this playlist. So let's take a look at this at least.
Our first principle is discoverability. Don Norman described it by asking, is it possible to even figure out what actions are possible and where and how to perform them? Nielsen has a similar principle. He advises us to minimize the user's memory load by making objects, actions, and options visible. Instructions for use of the system should be visible or easily retrievable whenever appropriate. In other words, when the user doesn't know what to do, they should be able to easily figure out what to do. Constantine and Lockwood have a similar principle called visibility principle. The design should make all needed options and materials for a given task visible without distracting the user with extraneous or redundant information. The idea behind all three of these principles is that relevant functions should be made visible so the user can discover them as opposed to having to read about them in some documentation or learn them through some tutorial. Let's take an example of this real quick. Here in PowerPoint, there are a number of different menus available at the top, as well as some toolbars. The effect here is that I can browse the different functions available to me. I can discover what's there. For Nielsen, this means that I don't have to remember all of these. I just have to recognize them when I see them in the toolbars. For example, I don't have to remember arrange as some keyboard I have to type in manually to bring up some ideas about how to arrange things. All I have to do is recognize arrange as the right button when I see it. Now, while this might be true at the application level, it's not often true at the operating system level, because the operating system doesn't command so much screen real estate all the time, and probably for good reason. So for example, on a Mac, I can use Command-Shift-4 to take a screenshot only of a certain area of my screen. However, the only way I know of to find that is to Google it or read it in a manual. It isn't discoverable or visible on its own, and you might never even realize it's possible. So the principle of discoverability advocates that functions be visible to the user so that they can discover them, rather than relying on them learning them elsewhere. I actually use a PC mode on the Mac, and whenever I come back to my Mac after not using it for a while, I have to Google that again. I know it's possible, but I never remember the command that actually makes it happen. Constantine and Lockwood's principle of visibility would add on to this that we shouldn't get too crazy. We want to make functions discoverable, but that doesn't mean just throwing everything on the screen. We want to walk a line between discoverability and simplicity.
Okay, discoverability may later inherit, or we can break down this discoverability into what's so-called the 6 principles in a Don Norman. Let's see about this Don Norman 6 principle of design, so we can learn it. Let's ask a GPT for this. One of them is affordance. We learned this already, right? So this is like in the second or third meeting in the beginning of our course. So we learn about this. And I also talk about the mapping while giving you some feedback. I told you that when I ask you to ensure that the visual for turning right should appear on the top right, that's part of the mapping, a good mapping. Good mapping takes advantage of a physical analogies and cultural standard. I'm sorry, I didn't have a very good example for the cultural one, but the physical one, that was the one of the examples, and maybe those that's example of switches as we have there, that light switches are not mapped very well because we cannot tell from the position of the switches which light will be on or off after we switch. We turn that in or after we click it. If we can make it consistent, like for example, it's supposed to be like, for example, these three line of so we have 3 lines, so the switch should be only 3 if you want to make it like physically mapped, but this case is that is not the case, and it's in purpose basically because somehow the interior designer of this room would like to make like this light is like a zigzag. So if this is on, for one switch, it will turn on this one, that one, and this one, zigzag, because we want like to make sure like distribute the luminosity of the illumination in this room evenly. So if we want to do that, so the purpose is very good, then the switch should have something that is designed in a better mapping than this one. But I'm sorry, I currently do not have any better recommendation for that. But we need to think that way basically. So that's a mapping, and then consistency. In here, if we talk about UX design by the in particular, we know what's so-called a design system. If you know design system, we have Google material design. You know about this? This one. So it's like a component, visual components that you want to apply to your product. This, for example, for app or website. Google Material is like a resource that you can use for making sure that your design is consistent. Like when I have a button, how big is the radius for the rounded corners, for example? So it's already fixed. So it's like a clear definition in the Google Material Design. You need to check in here. And then if you give it a look in here, the style, the color system, something like this. This is like a guideline. Okay, this is Google. So what color that you can apply in your application, and then what fonts that you can apply, what kind of animation that you can apply. And if you want to just, I want to create carousel. So is there any HTML code that I can just utilize? You can just check in here, components, and then you can benefit from any of the description in here, and as well as the, I think, the guidelines, something like this. And also I think they also give you kind of the codes to implement this. Okay, this is to maintain the consistency. Okay, one of the way to maintain the consistency. Apple also have that. We call it Apple Human Interface Guidelines. So for all iOS designers, they should follow this. Otherwise, their app submission will be rejected usually. You should follow this, the way the Apple products appear on the user's display. And not only the display, but also the interaction, the gestures, the shortcut, if you want to apply shortcut keys to your desktop application, it's already defined in here. Some other companies also have that as well. Okay, consistency is very important. Design principles: affordance, consistency, mapping, constraints. Constraints is in my delivery back then. When I talk about affordance, I also talked about anti-affordance. Please do remember that. Like the product is designed so that the users will not be able to do something that we actually expect that they should not do that. For example, anti-affordance applied to the chair in the park. Okay, chair in the park is like a sticked to the ground. So I believe it's not glue, it's more like I think there's some bolt and nut applied there. Okay, and it is basically to create an anti-affordance for that chair so that nobody will steal it. Nobody will bring it home. Okay, so the anti-affordance is basically just the same with the constraint. So if we want to ensure that if you want to your users not behaving such way, then you need to build constraints for that product. Another good example is for example, login button, okay, in your website. So you build an app, web app. It's a digital product, and it will appear on the screen. This login button, by the way, should not be clicked, or it should not trigger any submission, user and password, if the users haven't yet filled those two boxes completely. Okay, so when there will be some extra validation as necessary, but let's say that the box is still empty. So you expect that the user should not click on the login button. To ensure that and to make like a 100% that they will not be able to proceed the submission, then you should make it disable. So the login button should like gray out, for example. Okay, make it gray out, or it's basically untouchable or interactable. Okay, this no user will be able to submit anything if the case is the fields are still empty. So that's constraint, and you can find it a lot of things with respect to your final project design. You need to put several constraints on your design to ensure that the user will not kind of violate your business process, your some user experience that you do not expect in your product. Feedback, especially instant feedback, is very necessary. It includes the visual indications, sounds, and also haptic, if you can make it. Visual and sounds, at least, I believe any digital products now can achieve that, including web app. Web app can also support sound, actually. If you can make it, that would be better. Like, for example, if you create a mechanism for the users to filling out some forms, and there are a lot of things to fill in there, and then when they submit, you want to like you want to let your users know that the form is complete and the submission is done. Okay, so it's sent successfully. To make your users understand the situation, the end state that the form is complete and the submission is delivered, you will usually create a notification, right? Something like that. There's a visual feedback. That notification is visual feedback. Or you can also like creating auditory feedback, like a confetti sound or clapping hands. So like giving clues to the users that you have successfully done your task. And it's very important because it ensures that the users won't feel like they are lost in the experience. Okay, I believe that you have a experience this before. So when you open some apps and it is blank. It's like you load a website and then you type the website, but it is blank. It will be very frustrated. You will be very frustrated, right? You can imagine that situation. Why you are frustrated? Because you feel lost. Like you already give the system, the ones that you interact with, some action, but it looks like the system is the system does not respond. It is just blank, does not give you any particular feedback, and then it will break the experience. Okay, feedback is very important. Blank is if your website is actually loading something and it requires some time, that's fine. But you still need to let the users know that it is loading. You can give some loading bar, or maybe you can also, in the modern website, we can utilize what's called the skeleton UI. So it's like a kind of a loading, so you know there's a pulsing animation, something like that. So give it some indication that your product is live, even though there is no response at all for now because you're still loading. So feedback is very important. And I would like to I require you to also include this part. Ensure that you cover this part as well already in your design letter. And then the more visible functions, visibility. This is I think it's with respect to the signifier as well. So to make sure, especially if you have a digital product, if you have some buttons, it will be better if you can just label it in a full context. And I believe in the modern for best practice, for example, you want to create, for example, in your case, so we are talking about the TikTok sellers and that buyers interaction. Maybe there's some mechanism that the users need to request a product, for example. It should be clear how do they select the product. So those instructions should appear there in any signifiers. Or if it's not, then it just put some label, or maybe if this is the case, like this is the first time for the users to use your application, then it should be some kind of onboarding tutorials. So like you are putting like annotation on top of the particular buttons that they need to pick, or the drop down, etc. And then if that is the case, it's the drop down. Usually it will be better if you can have like a please click to select the item, for example. So do not let your drop down left empty. User will have no idea. I know the user may click that. There's a possibility that the user will click that drop down button. But if you put, like, for example, the text like a placeholder inside the drop down UI element, that drop down UI element, for example, click to select the product, then users kind of have a very confidence, is kind of feeling confident that they need to click that part. Visibility is very important. From these 6 items, do you have any question? So we call this Don Norman 6 principles of design. If not, let's have a short break. In 5 minutes, I will introduce you to the heuristic 10 heuristic from Jacob Nielsen, and then
I have a question, but it's more regarding the report. For the report, each 6 points you need to kind of put in your report and ask how you use it in your product.
yes, just at least I believe that there should be some examples that you can bring from your final project. It's okay if you do not cover like the whole things in the product, as long as you can bring just one example from for every theory or topics that we already talk about, and I'm fine with that. Okay, break for 5 minutes. Okay, let's begin. Can we have the report from Franklin and Danin first.
Yeah. Okay,
Please join the Zoom as well. At least one representative of the teams may join the team. Join the Zoom, sorry. You may open your microphone. I will mute mine here.
hello. Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay. Yeah, so compared to last week, so from the last week, how do I say it? Your feedback, we only really got out of the change of the live stream to the interactive help. So yeah, it's not going to be about a live stream anymore, but it would just be a one-to-one session where the seller and buyer have a conversation about the product. I think that's then more convenient. And we put in some comps, but it's very basic because I just wanted to put in something.
Usually it should be like branches, right?
Oh, okay. So not like,
Just one alternative.
oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that was the thing. I indeed wanted the branches, but I didn't really know how how our product has different methods.
Well, it's not that it's okay.
Because, for example, my first GOM would just literally be start the live stream. So you would use the touchscreen to tap the button to open it up. For the method, you would just touch the screen. And as the operator, yeah, you click the button and you wait for the stream interface to load. And the goal is to start the session. But then I'll try for next time to put in branches, kind of have multiple ways of interacting. But yeah, so most of the GOMs are actually quite straightforward. So it would also be like select maybe, I don't know, make this bigger. But it would be select the preferred language, but it would, yeah, be again, touch on the screen itself. For the operators, you have one more, but it's kind of straightforward, I would say. So I think this wouldn't then necessarily be a great GOMS because there's no branch or not really an option for a branch.
You might develop, and I think, for example, the language to in here you give an alternative for the task by allowing the users to click on particular buttons for selecting the language methods.
Yeah, there's like a language drop down.
Other options, there should be like an automatic mechanism, for example, for in the app. Like the auto detecting what you are talking about. Just like
This would also be just for the first time use, I would say. Like if you have 10 live streams or 10 time the interaction, it would only be for the first interaction. But yeah, it was kind of hard or it was a bit difficult to find a GOM for a branch. I don't know what else I have. Yeah, but just it would be ask a question by text or the voice conversation or the AR.
Why do we need, I forgot, why do we need to ask the user about their language preference?
Because in this product, it doesn't matter which language you speak to buy the product. Or if I want to, so for example, you're the seller, I'm the buyer. In our case, you're Indonesian, I'm Dutch, but I'm in Indonesia here. But for example, if I have a question about, I want to buy this phone, but I can't really figure out by the standard description, I would ask for this interaction. But in order for us to have a proper interaction, it's best, you need to choose, we both need to choose our preferred language so that it would automatically be translated either to text or to speech for us to have a proper conversation where you really, where there's no like, there's no problem with the language barrier.
So basically that language preference is to
Kind of make us feel comfortable about the questions or the answers or the whole conversation.
for example, if we are, not for example. Suppose that we are in the wrong language setting, what will happen?
I would hear it in the wrong, I would hear or either see it in a different language. So if I would put in Arabic, your voice would translate to speech to me in Arabic, or what you would say would be in text translated to Arabic, depending on what the user has chosen to.
So in my opinion, and this is like a one in a lifetime, right? So
Yeah.
that we already know what is the language preference of the users and it will apply across the time.
Yeah.
People assume that it's very unlikely that they will change the language preference, right? So you may assume this scenario that, for example, this is my suggestion, by the way, you can accept it or not. So suppose that the users is for the users opening the app, and when they open the app for the first time, there should be like a onboarding or like or after the splash screen, and then there should be like a moment when you give all the languages text appear there. Like when I believe that when we install our operating system, it's like or any language that will appear there.
It's like indeed for so for next week I will try to make this on Figma. I think it's better to have it in Figma. But yeah, this would be the first time opening up.
Is this the first time or after some period of time? Because I assume that it's already in the session and then you want to change that language preference through that button on the top corner.
Yeah, so this arrow is just moreover giving the user the knowledge about if he wants to change language, which indeed chances are slim that he would ever change the language.
Yes.
That
if the case is like you agree with me and you already actually you already realized this that we will not, it's very unlikely that the user will change the language preference. Then during the active session in the middle of the usage, it's not necessary to put that button, right?
Yeah.
So it should be hidden in settings somewhere. It's not really necessary appear there. We can just ask them, the users, about their language preference in the beginning when after it's like the first installation, and then after this like the first time they open the app, and at that moment I feel like if the case is, yes, I think, yeah. Only one method.
Yeah,
This I think is quite, we can only ask the user visually. So when it's the first time they open the app, there will be like those text with the
drop down.
drop down the selections of flag and the country name, right? It's gonna be, I think that's the most natural way for the users to like, oh, I know that the system would like to ask me about my language preference. There is no otherwise, in my opinion, yes. Yeah, there is no otherwise. I actually want to like to offer you some like more like an automatic recognition, automatic detection by the system, knowing that actually what is the language that you prefer to have.
So what it could be is that it automatically, or there's like a pop-up that would base your preferred language on the machine language of your phone, I guess. Or
Good
so
one,
if your phone is in English, you
Good
go to
one.
English.
good one.
Okay.
That's or maybe not, but I think still basically the method is by touch or click.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna be move away from that method. That automatic recognition from the system for the operating system preference is basically just to help our selection so that language, those flag will be set on the system default, like
Yeah.
if
right.
it's the Indonesian, it's gonna be the first selection will be like Indonesian. And you choose other one, but it's very likely it's Indonesian. Are you okay with that? Or if it's the case is in Bahasa Indonesia, then the language to confirm should be in Bahasa Indonesia. But the way the system reads this, whether it should select the Indonesian or English or Arabic or Chinese, it will depend on the system default language. Yes, I think there's no way. Okay, maybe let me think what's other.
Well, what
I
could
think like there should be some cases that we can make the method is more than one. I'm just thinking.
yeah, right. Or maybe outside of language, preferable language.
Yeah, what other
Because
questions?
yeah, it would, but maybe this GOM could be changed to not only by text, because now I have a separate.
Yes, this maybe you can this voice. So I think you can just merge this
Yeah.
to this one.
Okay, makes more sense.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is a textual method, you may say, and this is like a verbal method through voice.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not necessary for you to have that separate goals. Yeah, okay, I can use this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is nice. I think Figma could be a quite good thing then.
It's a like gaming live stream, I think.
Yeah. Can you also look at shopping?
What?
If there's a shopping template?
I think there is.
Do you have any parts in your project proposal that you want to consult?
To ask, what do you mean?
Maybe ask for any advice from this.
Well, yes, or we're not really sure if we need to change something. So what I mean is, these are still the first doodles we made, but it's still, yeah, as I said, we are trying to get Figma because I think it's better to show. But I don't know if because it maybe feels a bit too basic, or so for example, yeah, you have the button here to start. Well, in our case, it would be interactive help. Maybe we could put in like a pop-up which would say either there's someone available or there's no one available. You need to wait with loading, or maybe you can give the option where you can give the user will go out of the pop-up, but it would say, it will give a notification when someone is ready. Yeah, there's a drop-down language then. I think, yeah, this was then kind of to have a guide, or at least a tutorial for the user. And as you said, the language could be moved away because it's probably one time. But maybe all these options could be shift in and shifted out. As in, like this, like an option like this or something. And also another question for the AR, in what way, if we can like, for example, if you would click on the AR button, so we have a session going on, you are trying to sell me maybe a vase, plant vase, but I want to see it in my environment. I would click on the AR button to visualize the product, but what other things could we implement for the AR part? Or do you have suggestions maybe for the user interface? Because I think the augmented reality itself is quite straightforward. What would happen?
For the object that you want to project on the surface,
Yeah.
that will be straightforward. But I think the strategy, whether you want to display the text, the price, the dimensions may vary. So it can be something that is just like stick on the screen, like a 2D, or it should be spatial. It will attach to the button. Show you should be like, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just gonna let you to explore that part. By the way, one of important notes for you and the team,
try your best to think out of the box, out of the screen. Like, do not only think about the doodles for doodles is like something that you need to display on the screen through Figma whatsoever. But you also need to draw. It is hard for you to visualize that using any editing tools or drawing tools on the computer. This is okay if you want to just
sketch on paper. Like for example, when the situation is the user needs to utilize that AR
functions, draw the scenes like they use the phone. And then imagine that, for example, using this furniture scenario, then so what is the environment and what do the user expect to have in the screen, and then what they can imagine what appears on the environment, and give some annotation as well. So the doodles can also be something that out of the screen. So try to make your proposal more expressive.
Okay.
Get it?
Yeah.
Okay, I may skip. I'm sorry. I may move to other team. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now for 27. Can we have your team?
Yeah. I think. Yeah.
You can add the button.
Yeah. No, this is indeed quite perfect. Because if you would, for example, compare it to what we have, this page would pop up whenever you click on the project.
Mm.
Then afterwards, we kind of have to do in Figma this, but that should be fine. Maybe like this page, where it just displays everything the user needs to know. And from here, it's already kind of the same.
You will need to add some page.
Yeah.
Maybe later. I still learn how.
And we can work together on this,
Yeah, I think we can. I don't know how to.
but I'll make an account. All right, I'll show move.
Okay, you have Jose, go ahead.
Test.
Yes.
Okay, so what we add from last meeting we have presented our Figma prototype, and in this meeting we wanted to present this that we have started to make our report, which is just based on our proposal with some tweakings here and there. And then we also added the goals, and we have several of those. Yes, I think we could just skip to the goals. And yeah, this is our goals. Maybe we don't go tell about that.
Let's just say there's a lamp in room 1 and I want the page of the lamp goes back to the home screen. So there's the goals model. So there's two methods. Just go to the home screen button and then it goes to the home screen, or there's a second method and there's like press the room 1 button and then it goes to the room 1 screen, and then it press the home screen again, so it goes to the home screen. And it goes to all appliance. It's the same, probably. Here's a model which is a water heater. So let's say I'm from the home screen and I want to change the temperature of my water heater. And the first method is go to the home screen and then choose devices and click the water heater setting and then change temperature. And then the second method is same as choosing the home screen, but pressing the toilet screen rather than the device screen, and then it goes the same as the first method.
So these gums are replicated or duplicated for some of them, right? For the
Yes.
lamp. So actually, you just need to define one.
Yes.
Yes.
All of those 7 gums are the same, right?
Yeah.
On the top.
Mostly this the below one is from the screen to the settings, but on the top is from the settings to the home screen, vice versa.
From the settings to the home screen. Do you have any a reason why do you need to replicate this into 7?
I guess to tell that each appliance goes the same way, it has the same way to navigate. So it's easier probably for people, let's say they choose a different appliance, but they like, boy, this is hard to use, but this is not, because
For the 7 diagrams on the top, all of them are for turning on and off the light. All of them. Am I right?
yeah.
So there's no difference, right? It's a light, basically. If the case is different appliances, I think it's still okay. But if it's all of them is just the light, then I don't think that you need to create a separate comms for that. Don't you think?
So we should, I think in our application there's like a TV or an AC, and we should add that rather than make a lot of lamps.
Yes. Oh, and these are also lamp. Oh no, it's different. What are the difference between this 6 and this 7?
So the below is from the screen to the settings, and then if you want to go back to the screen, is on the top.
Go back to the screen. Do you have any demo for these comms? Like a screencast or the Figma playback?
So this is from the home screen. Let's say I want to change the lamp. It has two methods, which is go to the device, or we can go to the room. But at the end of the day, it can go to the lamp settings. But that is for the below in the mirror picture. And if you want to go back, yeah, it either just go to the home screen, or or choose the room button and then it choose the home. So two different methods. So from the screen into the settings, choose the device connected or room. But from the lamp, if you want to go back to the home screen, the first method is just clicking the home button. And the second method is choosing the room button and then choose the home screen button again. I think, let's say if you just want to change the lamp and then, oh, I've done change the lamp. Okay, I'm just gonna go to home screen. After, okay, maybe I want to change another appliance. You go to the room one.
And for the ones at the bottom is basically how the two methods of how you could change the settings on a device really, because let's just say that there is a television in room one, so you could go from our home screen here and then to the device connected and then the television in room one, and also from the home screen you could also go to room one first and then go to the television on room one. Is that clear enough, sir?
Move that back to the new.
Okay. So, thank you.
Maybe this is because the initial state is not written in any of these diagrams. So the sequence, or maybe the last block should, the second last block should move to the top one. If I can understand your diagram.
So maybe something
Is this
more.
your initial state? This is your final state.
Yes, the goal is to turn off the lamp, and then the finished state would be the lamp turned off.
Because the things that comes from this method should be like the goals.
Okay. So maybe
Okay.
something like
So to turn off the lamp.
no, we have we
So this is the goal, and then you need to like declare what is the initial situation.
is maybe something on screen.
Yes, so you just need to write down the initial state. Do not write down the goals.
Oh, okay.
Initial state, and then the selection and what you do, and then this is the goals.
Okay, so in this case, maybe in the changing AC temperature, what would be the initial state?
The initial step would be like, for example, you are in the necessary to because change. I mean, you just say that like the users are in the home screen. The users are in the home screen. I think that's
Okay. So yeah, and there's also one more here. Is to add more rooms. So you could from the home screen, there's this little plus button here. So our plan is actually to make something like a drop down menu. So users could choose whether to import files or the AR scan. So yeah, and that is our other goal.
Yeah. So please check those certifications on your that setting.
So I think we should just generalize it on what type of device.
Yes, what is the initial state?
And not
It's not necessary for
individual.
lab to create a different drones because the methods, the way we see that is the same. Right?
And in the report we just put our screenshots. It's okay.
There to have more paragraphs. So write down more text to explain what is this figure. And I think we better present partial index in your figure 2.1 or figure 2, figure 3, and then you mention that on the paragraph. In figure 2, you have blah blah blah. Yes, thank you.
For the report, do we have to provide like almost the screenshot of each of in the Figma prototype?
Yeah. You can do that.
And I think that is all. Thank you very much.
Highlight some changes.
Okay. Okay, so this is one of the feedback that you
On the microphone or
it's turned on. Is it here is it connected or
it's
oh,
on.
okay. Okay, so we change our feature from automatically turning on the helmet feature when using wearing it into at the first time we use a button. So this is the button at the side near back of the left side. Yeah, it's on opposite side. So like, and then after that, the AI will ask the user if the user wanted to make it automatic when the user wear it. And we have changes several of our HUD.
Yes, this is a better method.
So the bottom left will be the microphone, and it's gonna be about like can I show you okay, the illustration for it? So it's gonna be like this. So when the user speak, it will show the input the pulse. Yeah, pulse. That's what I meant. Obviously, we still think about the color, but I think this is good enough to make sure that the user know it is taking our voice. And after that, this is the call. If there's incoming call, there will be an icon at the middle left.
The users know when they can start speaking. I think there will be like a voice to yeah, a strong start or something like a jingle.
Okay, okay, it's the little jingle. Okay, great. Oh yeah. So there is also an icon. How to turn on that microphone, that AI? When we speak,
there will be now. This is just
Is it like a oh,
oh yes. Should be on. Is that bad thing or?
it's
Mm.
it's always on
When you start speaking and will appear.
here? Is that like that?
Yeah.
Is that all?
So
So
when you
do not speak.
then
It's like empty.
It's empty, so it's only
The
pure
speed
word.
up. Okay.
So this is
There's the incoming call
mm,
like this.
mm,
You may need to give having tax is appropriate in this case. So they put it on the right side of this, like a
start speaking
to receive call, for example.
Or do you have any specific way
Wait
to
to receive call.
through the buttons?
Actually, the button
It should be
mm,
through the button.
And
two ways.
Two ways. What is
the
it?
other way.
Oh, nodding.
mm. I think there is three ways.
What is
The third one.
Using voice.
Use voice.
The AI will you have a call from blah 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 blah, and then you can say okay, accept the call something, and then
Oh, accept.
reject the call.
So you need
To
to put that the text,
this
these three
text.
texts automatically. This is my opinion.
opinion by the way. You can consider that as part of your solution. So
In here, you should
could
be
be
like
having
the first one is the first one. Like pressing the
pressing
button. Press the button
on the
Left side.
left side of
of
the camera to receive the call.
Mm.
And
and
then
then
it like switch to the next or knowing your hand to receive the call. Or what was
the third one.
Using voice.
say
Oh.
receive
Receive
call
call to receive call, for example. And then it will
move
move
back
back
to
to
the first method.
method.
So
So
it's
the user's clues. What should
what should
they do?
Otherwise,
Just
that ringing. The users do not read the manual. So you need to
to
give
give a clear instructions
on the
to
display.
display.
Catat ya, aku enggak ini. Okay, so on the right side there is also the speed warning, speed limit warning.
Oh, that's speed limit.
Mm.
I thought that was that
Is
is
the
the ones that we debated
uh,
last week about
On the collision warning. Yeah, you can.
if that about the speed limit,
Yes.
of course,
Bukannya udah ada teksi kenapa?
So otherwise,
the users do not
belum ya.
have idea
what they
they
do.
just- what do you-
What's wrong? What's wrong?
Yeah.
Just
We
want
already
to
have
any context.
We explained them.
It should not be about in the form of this exclamation mark. It should be
For example, giving like
Ada icon.
the speed limit number and then red. It will be at least it give some clues. Oh, I'm speeding up, right?
So,
you need to fix the 65.
fires it here.
Okay. On the bottom right there is the battery indicator.
Whether it's good,
Mm-mm.
I think it's good to go.
And then this one, open the eye. We debated. Either we have two different things. Either we have this, the top one, the bottom one. Or like when
Yeah. Which one is better, sir? The white one or the?
You are.
Yeah. That is for the when
I think this one is more. It's better.
because of the background, because it doesn't blend in with the other. Because
Because it consumes too much real estate of your display.
What if it's smaller? Is it still better? If it's small, is it still better to use the below?
Yeah, I think it's still.
Oh,
Yeah, I usually use both of them. Oh, I think it's still okay.
okay.
But
Well,
actually,
to
you
be
know,
honest,
people, you may ask your
for
parents,
example,
in my
it,
opinion, this is more
I mean,
kind
because when we call
when I was on the
it,
plane. This is just new.
yeah,
It's
it's
like
like that
the city
before
part on the visual phone.
the open AI. Not
Not
really
that
that many people know about this.
Okay.
So,
choose
choose
something
that
that people
uh
know. By the way,
wait
with
when
respect to
goes in
this
direction, let me give you some one of my students' work. So this is about AI. Oh, I'm sorry.
Guys, stop stopping.
No, 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 no. Give me a moment. I need to make sure that this it works. Where is this? Where is this? I cannot pay it here. Why? Oh, I got some problem with my WhatsApp. Give me continue first. Okay. By the end of your presentation, I will explain about it. I will show this.
Okay. Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, that's it.
What we do.
I thought you're in the middle. I thought that
You
you
are still
have
have long.
No, I just
because we don't really know what more to ask.
Wait. You want my screen?
okay.
Oh, unfortunately, the WhatsApp is problematic. I cannot play the videos in here. What should I do? Let me join Zoom from my phones. Okay, let me show you this. So this is one way to project directions on the surface. So instead of having that lined, and maybe it's harder to draw that, you may just have this like arrow on in the circle, and it's just gonna be in front of the motorcycle, and it just give the which location it's just to.
But I think it's gonna be too complex, especially when the road is complicated. Like, for example, the road is an intersection. Do you know the Bungurasi before the flyover?
I know.
So when it's going to the road, there is a vehicle, so it's gonna be hard.
All right. Well, then if you think that your choice is more appropriate, then you can go with that. Sure. Okay. And then I think it's not necessary. Do you have this distance with you? Like how many meters is about to reach
It's on the
the turn
it's on the green box.
in the green
Yeah.
box?
Well,
All right.
Illustration purposes, it's not accurate.
Ah,
It's
okay.
only to be accurate, but like,
Well,
it's there for illustration purposes.
got it. Okay, thank you. I think that's enough. Now let me close my talk by explaining about the heuristic points by Jacob Nielsen. Fauzan knew about this already. Oh, so this is during the session in DPTSI and in the research center at that time. Or maybe I'm just gonna use a very simple image that you can find it on Google. You can just Google it. Nielsen heuristic. This is one of very popular design principles. These 10 points. Okay. I'm just gonna use one picture for all this one, I think. Oh, maybe this one. Yes, let me use this one. So the first one is a visibility of system status. It should be clear on your user interface what state the user is currently on. For example, when we talk about the moment when your website is loading the contents, you should give a clear indication that your website is loading the content through the text, through some progress bar, etc. If you have that progress bar, it would be better if you can give an additional percentage information on top of the progress bar, 70%, 99%, 100% complete, etc. Something like that. That's a visibility of system status. It's a very important in any situations of the you can explore. I believe that the case of this visibility of system status is there in your all of your final projects.
So this is just my template. I think about the progress for when website. Usually, no, I don't know if the other, but I think I usually saw at the bottom left there is the X, and when it's loaded, it's turning X size. The circle one.
Oh, this one. Yes, like for
This
example.
website that we do there.
Yes.
There's not enough for, so I think that is for the browser.
In my opinion, it's not enough because it's just occupy a tiny spot in the real estate of your screen. It's a very possibility that the user will miss that. Okay. So make it very visible, make it like in the center of the attention. And that's why the loading bar is on the center of your screen.
The title.
Pardon?
The title.
The title of the tab? Mm-hmm.
The document, the progress bar.
The progress bar, this one? No. It's just like when you download something or when you open your Windows for the first time, you are booting up your computer. There should be like loading bar, right? That loading bar, that bar with that percentage or Windows updates. That percentage. Okay, that's one of the application. The title of the page is also part of the visibility of system status. It would be better if you can have, like, for example, if you open Facebook, I think this is Facebook, and if you open friends, you will see that we are on the page friends now. See it here? So if you go with the other page, it's going to be appear on the groups. It's also very important. This is part of the visibility of system status. And in your case, I asked you about you mentioned you put that warning, but it's not clear what kind of warning is that. It should be very visible, the information. This is all about your speed status, visibility of speed status, and many more. Okay, and then the second one, match between system and the real world. You need to ensure that what you express in your user interface is something that the user are familiar with. The term, the visuals, the icon should be something that the user is understand. Usually, us as a computer engineer or software developers, we are kind of very lazy, and that's why when there's some error happens or faulty basically in our applications, then we just leave that error message there. It's a very technical word, like just leave it there. It's not very good. That's one of the things that the things that break this rule basically. Okay, again, it's very important to always match everything that you write down on the user interface with the mental model of the users. Okay,
Isn't it the responsibility of the front end engineer?
the UI designer to be specific. Front end somehow is technical guy as well. They always forget. The designer should remind them, by the way. Okay. Then user control and freedom. This is try to accommodate what we have designed in our GOMs. So having multiple methods for achieving a goal is basically to accommodate this user control and freedom. You should give the users opportunity to achieve a goal with several methods. This is to ensure that amateurs, the novice users, and the expert can achieve their goal efficiently. For example, for copying and paste text on the word processor, for novice users, they can still kind of like, for example, selecting the word, right click, and then find that copy button on the right click that pop up window. They can just type that. And for the expert users, instead of waiting for that selection appears completely, they can just select and then immediately press the Ctrl C, right? You may give it a try. When you press the Ctrl C, I think that window pop-up will not appear. So it's like, do not give you some annoyance. But if like after you select and then like you do nothing on your keyboard, that pop-up will appear, assuming that you are novice users. You need to change your text styles, or you need to copy the text you selected. So this to give again user control and freedoms too.
If that it gives more general, so that we follow in different demographics.
Yes, yes,
Use the app.
yes, yes. You need to survey. By the end, you need to survey your user segments, your users. It's very possible that that your users may include not only teenagers, not only youth, maybe some elderly would like to also operate that. Then if that's the case, then you need also to understand this demographic particular persona or users. Well, okay, next one, consistency and standards. The same with the consistency that I've mentioned from the Don Norman principles. Using design system is one of the way, and then applying green for approval is consistency. Using Control C for shortcut key for the copy is consistency, because everybody know Control C is copy. Do not use Control C for any other comments in your application. That's disaster. Okay. And then what else? Consistency with respect to, for example, for deleting buttons, it should be delete that buttons. If any dangerous action, it should be in red color. If approval is green, etc., something like that. Okay. Error prevention. You should help the users if they accidentally, for example, press the delete button or accidentally press the shutdown buttons. Recently, it happens a lot to me in many series of CPU tower like this. The power button is on the top. It's just very convenient to press it. Like very easy. I think in my opinion the power button should be like somewhere, but please do not put it on the top because even my daughter, 2 years old daughter, can press that and make my work for one day just perish. So yeah, for the case like the shutdown button is pressed, there should be confirmation dialog. That confirmation dialog is part of the error prevention. Whenever you have a feature for deletion, for deleting files in your applications, it's basically dangerous actions. You should give an opportunity for the user to reflect and to regret. It's a mechanism of regression. Okay. And the undo button is also part of the giving a chance for the users to move back to the previous state. Error prevention. Recognition rather than recall. Having icons, more visuals in your application is one of the way to achieve this. So please do not just only provide text in your button, for example, if it's possible. In modern UI, usually the buttons will equip with like an icon on the left. That's to give the users like in a glance, they understand that this button is for submission or for sending email or for anything, or just by looking at the icon. Recognize the icon rather than remembering everything, all the text with respect to the comments that we may offer, that we can do to the system. Flexibility and efficiency of use. Shortcut keys. Okay, shortcut keys. Please give any opportunity for expert users to do the things more effectively. What else? Efficiency of use is, I think, through, for example, autocomplete. So in modern web browsers, I think all of the modern web browsers support this feature already. So when you, yes, that's also part of the, especially if you have the Copilot with you. So the auto completion while you write your code or writing your code, the autocomplete of your full name, telephone, the address when you write down, because many forms like asking you to write name, right? Write name, write email, write those phone number, address. Browser will usually store those very basic information of you. So when you later want to use it again, you just like given an offer by the system. Do you want to use this? Like, I believe that when you, in a modern browser, when you click on the field of your full name, it will appear like your name there. And when you click your name and then the rest of your any other attributes after that. So when you click on it, the rest of the form will just fill it out. Efficiency. We don't care about that here. So it's another issue, but it's not necessary for us to care about that. Of course, I think it's already under the consent. So if the users already, they agree already that they want the browser to save their data, personal data in the browser. It should be the user's fault, by the way, actually, because yeah, and maybe the users didn't realize that when they like confirm to the, but it's still their fault.
Kondisinya I haven't seen with like yeah terms condition.
That is by the way, this also applies to me. Aesthetic and minimalist design is more like about design. If you apply a design system in your UI, especially, subconsciously you already apply this because the design system will always consider about this at the first in their design. The number of the color that you choose basically should be less than 3. The best way. So that's why for example, the material design, check on a Google material design. There's like a primary, secondary, and tertiary. 5 with white and black. 5. That's the bare maximum. Like if you want to apply, you want to comply with this heuristic. The font. Do not apply too many fonts on your application. Just stick to 1 or 2. If the case is 2, usually you just try to differentiate or to distinguish your title with the rest of the contents of the word. But if it's possible to make it just 1 font, it'll be better. Help users to recognize and diagnose or recover from errors. If the users fall into some condition that is basically error or failure, etc., give them a clear instructions how to follow up. What is the next thing they need to do? For example, in let's say the email. Okay, so there's a one thing that basically try to comply with this ninth heuristic is called empty state. Can you check that on the internet? Is that empty state? Yes, empty state. Learn about this. Let me show you good empty state. Yeah, something like this. It is basically the condition when the users are in a failure or in a error situation. I'm sorry, we already passed 5 o'clock. Sorry, I will make it quick. So this is, I think, the two last things. No message found in the selected time range. So that's the information. So what is the follow-up? Use a different time range. We will look again. So it's clear how to avoid or how to escape from this faulty. Otherwise, like, and it is even worse if you do not have any visuals in here. It's just empty. Questions? And then it's bad. Your mail inbox, for example, if you delete or this is your first time creating email, there should be this empty state. We call it empty states. It's a very common practice in UI design. And usually we also like giving direct button in here for the following up the situations. In some cases, try to check many examples of the empty state so you can understand one of a good practice in the help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. Number 10, help and documentation. It can be like the manual that is like in a particular page explaining about FAQ, etc., how to utilize, how to work with this operating system. I'm sorry, this application, or you can use like onboarding tutorials, those strategies. Okay, so that's a help and documentation. I think that's all, guys. Thank you very much for having me today. Let's call it a day. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you so much.
Yo, bye.